All right, now, a digital forensic expert told the Presidential Election Petition Court sitting in Abuja how he uncovered that the Independent National Electoral Commission (Inec) wiped off results of the presidential election that held on February 25. His name Hitler Wala. He mounted the box as the 25th witness of the candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who is challenging the declaration of President Bola Tinubu of the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) as winner of the presidential election. Now, testifying before the Justice Haruna Samani-led five-member panel yesterday, he alleged that the results that were deleted were contained in the bimodal voter accreditation system (Bvas) machines that were deployed for the conduct of the elections. Atiku and his party had insisted that data from the Bvas machines, which were used for the accreditation of voters and uploading of polling unit results, would establish their allegation that the presidential election was rigged in Tinubu's favor. Meanwhile, led in evidence by lead counsel for the petitioners, Chief Chris Uche, SAN, Wala said he was summoned through a subpoena to appear as a witness in the case. And he told the court that he specifically inspected and conducted forensic analysis on 110 Bvas that were deployed for the conduct of the presidential election in the Federal Capital Territory, FCT Abuja. And according to him, upon his inquiry, the electoral body maintained that it had to wipe off the information in the Bvas to be able to redeploy them for the governorship and State House of Assembly elections that held on March 18. Well, however, during cross-examination of the witness, counsel to INEC, Mr. Abubakar Mahmood, SAN, faulted reports of the witness, stressing that 110 Bvas devices used for the election was not sufficient to establish that there was an irregularity on the part of the commission. Mahmood, SAN, said while contending that the sample size the witness relied on to write his report was small, he noted that a total of 3,263 Bvas devices were deployed during the presidential election, and he argued that the sample the witness based his report on represented only about 3.5% of the total device the INEC deployed in FCT and 0.06% of the total Bvas that was used for the presidential election across the country. Well, I have joining me virtually Kunle Falowo, who is the convener, Concerned Nigerians for Good Governance in Indianapolis. Good morning to you, Kunle.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right, good to have you on the show today. Now, I'm sure you're abreast with these happenings at the Presidential Election Petitions Court. Now, in as much as the witness there stated that 110 devices were looked at by him, and we have the other party saying that's not enough. That's not enough to conclude that the elections were rigged. What do you make of the statements made so far?
So, in a democratic setting, there's always an avenue for everybody to get a redress or iron out any issues that you have, or potentially whatever conflict that you have with, say, maybe an electioneering event or activity, or if you feel aggrieved about some certain issues that you think you were outplayed or outnumbered, or certain procedures where it wasn't taken as against what is supposed to be. So the courts is a viable avenue in the democratic governance to address whatever issues that you have, but especially when it comes to politics in democracy, and generally just in a democratic governance. So, in other words, this is a healthy dialogue, a healthy way of addressing these issues, especially the just concluded February presidential elections, and it's interesting to see the numbers that are coming in as far as the type of evidence that the petitioners are bringing up to the courts, which is I want to say tenable, to a large extent. But be that as it may, the courts will have to give their final verdict. Um, but as it is, it's going pretty well, and it's commendable that it's not rancorous. It's not turning into a violent, chaotic situation. It's organized, and you know, one important thing is in a democratic dispensation. Um, this is what the law says. So every party that wants to get a redress or wants to iron out issues should go to the courts and challenge the
Now,
disputes. And I
you
think
do
it's
know
very
that
healthy.
electioneering is all about numbers, and each number counts. This is the analyst who went through the Bvas. Do you think that do you agree with the statement that the Bvas, the 110 that he checked, is inconsequential in comparison to the Bvas deployed around the nation or deployed to Abuja, which is a whole lot more than 110, because we are being told that out of the 110 that he checked, INEC actually used about 3,263. All right. So that's the 110 is actually a small number, but is it inconsequential about collating numbers together?
One would argue that that number it's very might be very irrelevant
Okay.
as it is, but again, let's leave it to the courts to decide because we don't want to jump into conclusion because it could be admissible in the courts because that could lead the defendant uh, could argue that that is a pattern that has been used by the by INEC. So if there is, because every vote is supposed to count, every vote is supposed to matter. So if we're seeing 110 or even lesser that it's not being accounted for, by all means, you have to go to the courts and challenge it. And then when the court is admitting that as an evidence, so we need to give them a chance to go in and trying to figure out if this is enough evidence to toss out the entire election. Now that being said, the defendants in person of the INEC attorneys, INEC lawyers, and the APC lawyers will also be coming in to show and to tell the courts otherwise. So this is a healthy, like I said, a healthy play out of democratic principles in the courts, and admissibility is very important. And one will argue that this is a very healthy play. But then again, if it's admitted by the courts. Let's just see how it goes.
All right. So yes, we don't want to preempt the court, of course, and we would hate to do so. But let me take you back to this argument before the argument that existed before the hearing started, where some Nigerians were clamoring for an open hearing that will enable Nigerians to watch the process on TV. At this point, with the things you have heard so far, what's your take on that? Do you think it should have been made public to the point where Nigerians will watch on television? Or do you think it's better the way it's being done?
I think it's a lot better to find, if you're very keenly interested about what the courts are saying and how it's going to go, you might as well just hop on the bus and just go in there personally and go observe. Um, it is interesting to note that it is only 2015 that the presidential election in Nigeria was never disputed, and that was when Goodluck Jonathan, former
Admitted.
President Jonathan, conceded to Buhari-led government. That's the only time that we didn't have much of a rancor in our political space. However, it's also interesting to remember and to remind Nigerians that since 1999, when Nigeria returned to democratic governance, um, the Supreme Court has never overturned the presidential election. So this little drama happening right now is just the tip of the iceberg. We're still, um, depending on what the courts are saying, especially the petition tribunal, it is still going up a notch and still going to the Supreme Courts to decide. So this is going to last for a little longer. So we don't want to. I think there are more issues Nigerians are concerned about than having to witness or having to watch the live
Broadcast.
events in the courts. So
Okay.
let the election tribunal do their thing and let Nigerians continue to uh, look at all the issues that affect our day-to-day living.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Kunle Falowo, who is the convener, Concerned Nigerians for Good Governance in Indianapolis. Thanks for joining us on the
My
show.
pleasure.
All right, now that's we'll be going over to business now, and after business, we'll touch on entertainment. Now, going straight into business, the federal government in the last quarter of last year issued 50 new power generation and metering permits. A report by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission stated that it approved the issuance of 2 new generation licenses with a combined capacity of 56.50 megawatts and authorized the amendment of 2 on-grid embedded generation licenses. The Commission also approved 13 mini-grid permits, 14 registration certificates for mini-grids with individual capacities below 1 MW. Now, it also granted approval for the amendment, renewal of 7 captive power generation permits with an aggregate capacity of 65.36 MW. On metering, NERC said applications from 7-meter installers, 3-meter manufacturers, and 2-meter importers were also approved by the Commission in Q4 of 2022. Power generation and metering have continued to pose a huge challenge in the Nigerian power sector, with generation staggering below 5,000 megawatts for the past 2 years. All right, let's get on to another business story now. Still on metering, NERC said applications from 7-meter installers, 3-meter manufacturers, and 2-meter importers were approved by the Commission in Q4. All right. President Bola Tinubu on Thursday in France stated that Nigeria is ready to do business and receive investments from foreign partners. He premised this on the ongoing reforms such as the removal of fuel subsidy and the streamlining of exchange rate, moves he promised to sustain for a more competitive economy that attracts foreign direct investment. Well, therefore, he urged investors to take advantage of the ensuing opportunities. The President's Special Advisor on Special Duties, Communications and Strategy, Dele Alake, disclosed this in a statement he signed on Thursday titled, "We are ready for business, prepared to welcome investors to Nigeria." President Tinubu tells Afrexim Bank, EBRD, the president in Paris. Now, the Nigerian leader assured the delegation of Afrexim Bank executives led by Professor Orama that the federal government will continue to stimulate the economy with policies that support investment in areas of Nigeria's competitive advantage, particularly agriculture. All right, that's all we have for business now. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have entertainment stories. Stay with us.